the Democratic Party. Let's get the thoughts now of Dr. Stephanie Hare, an independent researcher and author of the forthcoming book, Technology Ethics. So, Stephanie, it looks like we're well into this tit-for-tat dispute between Twitter and President Trump. Where's it all going to lead?
Oh gosh, where is it all going to lead? Who knows? The question really is whether or not President Trump would have the ability to somehow get Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which is a law that's been on the books since 1996 and protects all online platforms, not just Twitter, from liabilities, civil liabilities and state criminal prosecutions. So the idea really is that if somebody posts something on Twitter, for instance, that you don't like, you can sue that person for defamation, for instance, but you can't sue Twitter. And the idea is if we were to abolish or do away with or even just heavily regulate Section 230 of this act, what you would do is potentially destroy the business model of all of our online platforms, because they would be legally required to vet every single post that goes on and take it down potentially if it offends who knows who at this point. So it's not viable. Section 230 is there as part of a way of upholding the First Amendment of the US Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which protects freedom of expression for all Americans and freedom of the press.
Surely Congress is unlikely to back him, Stephanie.
Well, I certainly hope that is true. I'm sure they're all going to be reviewing their copy of the Bill of Rights today and making clear their position on that.
How much do you think President Trump really needs Twitter, though? It seems to be a platform he's embraced and loves.
Well, it's odd because Twitter has far fewer followers in the United States than, for instance, Facebook. It's about 30 million US Twitter account holders versus 230 million Facebook holders. So he has a much bigger audience on Facebook, and this actually makes it part of the problem. Anything that he tweets can easily and is often shared on Facebook and therefore is amplified. It goes viral. So just as we're thinking about ways of stopping the coronavirus at the moment, we are also having to think about ways of controlling, for instance, misinformation or hate speech or all sorts of things that are happening on these online platforms. And the problem is that it's not really clear how to do that yet. What Twitter... Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Stephanie, what do you think Jack Dorsey's plan B is? He must have known when he flagged up this tweet that it was going to explode.
Well, that's what's really interesting is he hasn't censored the president, right? He's provided context, and that nuance is really important. He's introduced friction. So for these flags in question, the tweet can't be read right away without first clicking on a brief notice that explains some context about the tweet. It can't be liked or retweeted, and you can retweet it if you add a comment. So your freedom of speech, if you want to react to the president's tweet, is protected. Therefore, President Trump's freedom of speech is protected because the tweet's not taken down. But there's this little break that's introduced of friction that makes you go, in this case, a tweet is glorifying violence, for example. But even that friction is problematic because was the president glorifying violence or threatening state violence?
Could Twitter simply move offshore? It's a global company. They don't need to be headquartered in America.
Well, that's a very interesting point. Right now, so many of the debates that we're having about online platforms are very US-centric, and it raises the point that if, for instance, members of Congress and the Supreme Court were not to uphold the First Amendment, which would of course be shocking, and we would be in a very brave new world indeed, that could put a very interesting pressure on some of these US technology companies to relocate. They are not like a company with physical assets. They are companies that could be mobile and could operate anywhere in the world. So the question really here is, does freedom of speech in the United States still exist online? Today it does, but we have to uphold and renew that value every day.
Dr. Stephanie Hare, very interesting to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.